Hey guys, good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Welcome to IFYL Inspirations for Your Life. Welcome, whether you're here at 11:15 p.m., 11:15 a.m., 3 a.m., 3 p.m., 6 a.m., 6 p.m. Doesn't really matter. Thank you so much for being here. We have a great guest coming on our show tomorrow morning at, actually, is it tomorrow morning? It's actually tomorrow afternoon, sorry. Tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. We have Jen Drummond coming on to talk a little about her book and about some amazing stories she has from climbing the 7 summits around the world. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate your support. So our master topic, as you know, for the week is keys to perseverance. We talked about what perseverance was yesterday. So today we're going to talk about the types of perseverance. And there are different types, but what I want to talk about specifically is the types that have to deal with belief. Okay, we call it belief perseverance. That's basically where it comes from, belief perseverance. And so belief perseverance is a type of perseverance. There are 3 types of belief perseverance, which we'll talk about in a minute. Each of these has different modalities of belief, and they all lead to the same consequences and have the same potential backfired situations as well. So let's get right into it. So the first one is self-impression. Self-impression. So these have to deal with beliefs about somebody's, let's say, body, personality, social skills, intelligence, or their abilities. And they get a negative self-image of their body or any they're part of, whether it's physical, mental, etc. And they may be successful. So they'll make an effort to put on weight with a proper diet and exercise routine, and then they stick to the belief because they have had it so long that they can't get rid of it. So it leads to them, being unhappy and, really sad because they can't get rid of this this problem. So that is one thing I think that's important to understand is noting that self-impressions is a real big one, and a lot of people get stuck because of that. Let's move on to the next point, and that is social impressions. Social impressions for belief, right? For belief perseverance. And this is a hard one because, when we think about any type of perseverance, I was saying, it can be challenging. So this one has to deal with the impression that somebody gets of you. Okay. The impression that somebody gets of you, an impression that you get of someone else. And so when this happens, remember we said that your perceptions, whether they're right or wrong, they create reality. They create reality. I mean, that is really the truth. Whether you believe them or you don't believe them, they will create your reality, and quite quickly. Okay, quite quickly, because what you believe, okay, and perceive is your reality. All right. When we think about, let's say, belief perseverance, and we think about, socialness, right? We think about the socialness. We think about the fact of what a social impression is, or let's say a self-impression, okay? So a self-impression, it's mostly about yourself, but you can have someone else's self-impression, but it's mostly about yourself. You can have different aspects, such as we talked about before. We talk about the different types, but when we go into something a little bit deeper, which is the next point, which I think is really, really important, and people confuse them. You've got the belief perseverance, you've got self impressions and social impressions. So social impressions are a little bit different. They are a little bit different, and the reason they're different is because they deal with a two-way factor. Okay. Social impressions. Everything in our world is social. And so social deals with people. And there's always biases, right, to one way or to another, but it doesn't mean they're necessarily right. But what it does mean is that it becomes your reality. Unfortunately, all of these can lead to negative impacts on yourself and others. Because, as I said, you create a reality that really isn't true, and then you believe that reality. And now it's like, oh my gosh, like I created this and I didn't want these. And then there is the caveat of what we call the naive theories. The one where, what I'm doing isn't creating anything, but really it is. See, most people get stuck because of the fact that they don't realize how powerful their mind is. We cling on to old ideas. We cling to false beliefs, whether they're right or whether they're wrong. Okay, I think that is the most important thing I can tell you. And you probably won't believe me until it actually happens for yourself. Now, I say this to you because it's hard to understand this. Because until it actually hits you, you're like, oh my gosh, how does this work? And the belief one is pretty easy to understand. But I think when we start getting into social and the fact that other people's perceptions affect your reality. And the reason it affects your reality is because it changes the way they look at the world. And when they respond to you differently, you're going to respond to them differently. Whether you want to or whether you don't, it's just going to become reality. Okay? So as we said, social impressions deal with beliefs about other people, such as beliefs about your best friend, your mother, your favorite teacher, etc. But they also can deal with yourself too. And the third, as I said, is the naive theories. They're beliefs of how the world works, beliefs about the causes of what causes someone to get wealthy, what causes someone to be poor, what causes someone to be a certain way, such as teenagers have a certain stereotype. What causes someone because of their look, because of their stature, that somebody says, oh, gee, they must be gay. But that's wrong. And so a lot of people live their whole life going down this pathway, and then they're really sorry because they made these conclusions. So if researchers, are checking all these things out and they're presenting this information to us, we have to understand there's always going to be a cognitive bias. And so an illusion is created by what you believe. Remember I said what you believe becomes your reality. So if I believe, for example, I've got I'll just get a pen here in my drawer. If I believe that this pen, okay, right now, if I believe that this pen is red, well, then it's red, right? Until I go to write with it and see that it's not red, that it's black or it's blue, that's another thing. If I believe that this, let's say, little mini screwdriver here is the best screwdriver in the world, well, I could believe that. But if it can't unscrew or screw 95% of the screws, then when I start to apply what I believe, I start to realize what a naive theory is. And that's the fact that, what causes something, but really it doesn't cause something. You think it causes something. What causes you to learn? You think, but if you don't know, then it really doesn't. What causes me to make a friendship? Now, if you don't know how to make a friendship and you think something else causes it, like you think, well, gee, I think the best way to get a friend is to play hard to get and tell them I'm better than they are, and then they're going to want to. No, that's not the way. But somebody who lives in this disillusionment, okay, of a reality that they think is right is going to lose a lot of friends. And so when someone creates this illusion, they create this shell. They form a type of belief. And so there are beliefs that you might want to ask yourself about myself, about my abilities. What assumptions do I hold about other people and their beliefs? Where did these beliefs come from? Did they come from childhood? Did they come from experiences, feedback, authority figures, interactions with friends? Like, for example, if you're having trouble making money and people are saying, well, gee, maybe you have friends or relatives that, well, money doesn't grow on trees. So what I could tell you to say is, look, money may not appear to grow on trees, but I can manifest it just as easily as I can breathe. So, because some people might say, gee, it's impossible. So what you have to do is you have to negate that, but then make it a positive. Maybe you're trying to sell tickets and you can't sell tickets to an event. Selling tickets is becoming easier and easier each day. Okay? And so when you think about where you are, when you think about a perception, you just accept that perception as being reality. Okay? Are the beliefs that you hold about yourself true? Are they accurate? Doesn't matter. It's what you believe. What experiences have I had that maybe counter these beliefs? So that's the key, guys, is that when I start to realize that I have an epiphany moment, which comes from the fact that, wait a minute, the sky is falling. Well, wait a minute, no, it's not falling. Or, this water is clear, but I look at it and it's not clear. Or this pen only writes in red until I take the cap off and I start writing. I'm like, well, wait a minute, I said it was red. Well, it's actually blue. It's actually black. You can do this with fitness. You can say, gee, I can eat anything and I'll never gain weight. So that's a disillusionment, because you have to realize that you can say, hey, I can eat anything I want and I never gain weight because I always take the steps to burn off my calories. You see how that works? So perseverance, which is a neat one that we're talking about today, a very interesting one, which is the belief perseverance. Again, we're talking about all forms of perseverance this week. Tomorrow is going to deal more with the resilience of perseverance. And I think when you sit back and say, oh my gosh, I don't know how I could believe this, or how could an audience believe this, or how could customers believe this when it's not true. See, customers and clients and other people might not get the right perception of it, but it doesn't matter, because to them, the car is red, the car is black, the car is the fastest. Okay? To them, that's their world. Until it gets challenged, usually by them trying to do something like, well, wait a minute, I'm not the fastest person. There's somebody faster than me, really? And what I'll tell you is that if somebody gets the epiphany of what they believe is wrong on their own, it's fine. But when they get the epiphany of it through you, or because you're trying to, be the know-it-all and say, gee, of course it's not going to work like that. It's, myself coming as the engineer, I always want to say, well, that's not logically correct. Or if somebody asks me the question, I'm going to give them the answer. But somebody says to me, oh, gee, well, that's definitely going to work. And I'm like, well, do you want the real answer? What do you mean? Well, the real answer might conflict with what you believe. Well, you could say anything you want, but can you prove it? Yeah, give me a glass of water and I'll show you how that works. Or get me a battery and a wire and I'll show you how current works. So when we show somebody something, when we demonstrate something, when we have things like social proof, right? When we think about advertising or social media, when we get social proof, like we do an event and we suddenly have 500 people, that social proof says, okay, gee, next time I'm going to come to that event because there's a lot of people. Ladies and gentlemen, I am John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's been a privilege, pleasure, and honor to be with you this fantastic Sunday evening. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow is July 1st. Can you believe tomorrow is July 1st? Wow. That means in just Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so Monday to Tuesday, Tuesday to Wednesday, and Wednesday to Thursday. That means just 3 days from tomorrow, we're going to be celebrating 4th of July. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night. By the way, we're back with JCM Academy's masterclasses, and also with a really good tip tomorrow that's going to launch, I believe, at 8 or 9 a.m. tomorrow morning on the John C. Morley Serial Entrepreneur channel. If you, under the playlist Jason Academy, you can go to believemeachieve.com. You can scan my QR code. You can go to what's on my hat, which is believemeachieve.com. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your night, and I hope you realize that you put up the boxes that keep you from becoming a success. No one else does. You do. All right. Have yourself a great night, everyone, and I will catch you.